This is part 2 of a 3-part video series I'm doing where I buy the most expensive Ninjago minifigures from every wave of Ninjago and then build a diorama out of my bricks to go with the minifigure. In this video, we're going to be traveling from the Day of the Departed all the way up to Season 11 for Bin's Midget Zoo. Let's get into it. The most expensive minifigure for Day of the Departed was Bleached Pythor in his cloak. This is an extremely rare minifigure that only came in the biggest set from this wave, the Samurai X cape. The minifigure himself has pretty simple detailing since it's just a white cloak, but the blue medallion on his chest shimmers way more than the Tournament Element version. You can purchase this Pythor minifigure for $39, or if you want to get him brand new in pristine condition, it's going to be about $130. Now, Day of the Departed definitely isn't my favorite piece of Ninjago media. Hey! And the fight between Pythor, Lloyd, and Misako is pretty boring. So I want to make a more interesting scene from Rebooted. This is where he captures Lloyd and reveals that he is in fact Pythor. But it looks more like a dress instead of the snake tail. So I'm going to get the Doctor from this Harry Potter set and use that dress piece instead. Now in this scene they're by a cliff jutting out from Hiroshi's labyrinth. I started by pouring down some water and got a lot of dark gray slopes out and built up a cliff. I got some dark green slopes coming down the cliff to make it look more organic. Then I built a backdrop of trees, added some flower plants to the floor of the jungle, and then got Lloyd and wrapped some of these red whips around him to make it look like that mechanical snake thing crawling up him. Finally, I placed Pythor down and this display is 100% complete, and I'm going to have to give it a 9 out of 10. Pythor himself is a fantastic minifigure, but I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. He doesn't have a lot of unique detail. The next theme we have is Hands of Time. One of the Hands of Time is the most expensive minifigure, and it is a Chronix. This minifigure came with his twin brother in the Dawn of Iron Doom set. Talk about a detailed minifigure. And he even has an MP3 player with earbuds. Even his ninja cowl has amazing clockwork detail on it. This minifigure can range anywhere from $45 at the cheapest to $398. That is almost $400. The diorama we're going to build for a Chronix, and this is the very first episode when he falls from the time portal to find Sensei Wu. My first thought when I saw the floor of this monastery was that I could use nougat hum pieces, which I had an excessive amount of from my Cloud Kingdom mock. This is by far the most tedious Lego build I've ever had to design. This time-lapse video makes it look easy, but once I was done, believe me, my hands were soaking wet with sweat. Once I was done with that, the rest of the build was pretty easy. I put a plant in the middle with a green forward time blade and got a bunch of brown pieces to build a burnt down monastery for the backdrop. Then I placed Wu and a Chronix down, and this timeless scene from Ninjago was complete. The floor, though it took long, really paid off, and I'm going to give this mock a 9 out of 10. For Chronix himself, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10. This minifigure is so incredibly detailed, I could not put him any lower. The next entry into the Ninjago franchise was the Lego Ninjago movie itself. Personally, I really like the movie, and the most expensive minifigure from this series is Lady Iron Dragon, but she's really not that expensive. Today you can pick her up anywhere from $10 to $33, which isn't bad compared to the $400 price tag we had on the Chronix. This minifigure is pretty well designed and even comes with a uniquely printed quiver. The part where it gets really bad is the face print, which did not print well onto the headpiece behind it. The hair is also really cool, and for this scene, we're going to recreate the first time Lady Iron Dragon and Garmadon meet. They're fighting this big battle on this lava plane. I started by laying down some lava and putting studs inside of it so you can shake the lava around. Then I grabbed loads of dark pan pieces and started building up some terrain, where I placed a skeleton, a snake dude, Garmadon, and finally, Lady Iron Dragon. I also added some skeleton body parts strewn around. You can really see the sparks flying in this scene. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It definitely could have been better if I had more scenes from the movie to pick from. And for the minifigure, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I really don't like the head printing. This next season is a fan favorite, Sons of Garmadon. And the most expensive minifigure is, of course, you guessed it, Kilo, the big fig from this series. And now seeing Kilo in person, I can say he's definitely one of my favorite big figs I have. The amount of detail they were able to give this big fig is pretty impressive. He's got the 3 Oni masks tattooed to his arm, and he's got a leather jacket with a lot of really cool symbols and lettering over it. He looks pretty goofy with his tiny head, but when you put the Oni mask on him, he looks even more ferocious. This Kilo big fig ranges from $80 to $251. We're gonna build the scene scene from the show where you first get introduced to Kilo in the Sons of Garmadon base. I started by building up the floor of the sewer. I wanted to give it enough room so you could stick these little lights in I found on Amazon, and now the vent lights up and gives a more atmospheric feel. I built up 2 walls, one of which I used a cool technique where I built brick pieces and then placed tiles on top of it, so they're both different layers. And since it was a sewer, I covered the top and placed a road down with a lampstand and a fire hydrant, and added in 3 more lights to the top. Down beneath, I added some details to make it more sewer-like. I got a couple Sons of Garmadons and Snake Jaguar, and then finally placed down Kilo. This diorama is really amazing. I'm going to give this diorama an 8 out of 10, and I love how much these lights add to it, and Kilo definitely deserves a 10 out of 10. This big fig is really something unique. Hunted was an amazing team of Ninjago that took the 4 core ninja and master route to a totally new and dangerous realm. The most expensive minifigure from this series is Dragon Armor Wu. This is an incredible minifigure, and the Dragon Armor chestplate is extremely detailed. I love the dragon head as a shoulder pad. They also really nailed the detailing with this minifigure. Today, you can buy this minifigure anywhere from $23 to $88. And the scene we're gonna make for him is from the final episode, when Lloyd and Wu go to the top of destroyed Borg Tower to take on Garmadon and save Ninjago. I started by placing in some Technic brackets so that the main base where I'm gonna have my character standing is tipped a little bit. Then I started building up around that unique shape that the top of Borg Tower has. The main color palette I used here was dark gray. I added a lot of light gray pipes and greebling around the place. I used these long light gray poles so that the rebar was exposed. Then built Hunted, Lloyd, and Garmadon. Finally, I placed these 3 minifigures on the platform and they were ready to fight. I think this broken Borg Tower diorama looks very accurate to this show, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely one of the biggest dioramas I made for this series so far. And I'm going to give Dragon Armor Wu an 8 out of 10. The detailing is spot on. Next up, we have a mini-season called March of the Oni, and this introduced the Oni. The only set you could get was a character pack, and the most expensive minifigure was the Omega minifigure. This villain ranges anywhere from $50 to $90. This is definitely a vicious looking villain using the Oni mask piece reprinted in black with amazing head printing. The standout for this minifigure is the massive horns he has coming out of his helmet. And we're going to rebuild one of the creepiest scenes from all of Ninjago, and this is where Lloyd and Garmadon go down into the basement of Borg Tower to try to find the golden armor to stop the Oni. I built the floor using dark gray plates and added some transparent red detailing to the floor too. In the middle, we have a pedestal with the realm crystal on it. I built 2 walls to enclose this room, and in each wall I added these big industrial looking doors. To finish the room up, I got some claws in a couple different shapes to make it look like that black smoke that is infusing the room. I also got some string and wrapped it around the pedestal. I even used black whips as detail. Next, I placed down Lloyd and Garmadon, and finally the Omega, which I gave a custom staff to. This scene looks just about as scary as a scene from the show, and it definitely gives me creepy vibes. Again, I'm going to have to give this diorama a 9 out of 10, and the Omega I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. Forbidden Switches was a unique dual chapter season with the Fire chapter and Ice chapter. But our most expensive minifigure comes from the Ice chapter, and this minifigure is Aita. And while I was doing research for this video trying to figure out the best prices for these minifigures, I found Aita on Bricklink for $65, but I also found the massive set that she comes in, the Ice Emperor's Castle, for $200. I gave it and just bought the whole entire Ice Emperor's Castle. A few days later, it arrived in the mail. Coincidentally, it was snowing that day. Sadly, I didn't build it in the snow, but I did build it in record time very, very fast. Now that this Ice Emperor's Castle is done, all we really need from it is Aita. This Aita minifigure ranges anywhere from $65 to $182. That hair and hat piece is very unique with the fox design on it, and even the cape represents the tail of that wolf that she can transform into. The detailing on the body is surprisingly very well done. The diorama we're going to build for this set is from one of the last episodes, and it is none other than the Ice Emperor's throne. I actually grabbed a bunch of pieces from the Ice Emperor Castle I could use for this mock. I started by laying down a dark blue floor with a stairway going up to the throne, tiling it off with transparent blue tiles. After that, it was time to make that exploding ice effect all around it. I used quite a few different ice pieces to create this gorgeous look.
Wow.
I built the throne itself, added a dark red carpet, and 2 facade-like pillars along the back with flags sticking out either side. Next, I placed down the awesome Ice Emperor and finally put Aita at the bottom of the stairs ready to run up and fight him. This diorama turned out way better than I could have even expected. This honestly might be one of my favorite dioramas, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. And for this Aita minifigure, I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10. Very cool, very detailed, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Peace out.